Hello. Today I'll be doing the new Frost guide with the release of Nola. The format of this video will be different from my previous ones, but I think this will be easier to understand overall. How it'll go is I'll parse like the usual vids, but then I'll explain what I did afterwards. I'll be doing 2 rotations today, one that I came up with using double bleed, and the usual one, which I'm sure you've seen on some other channels. Double bleed, in theory, is the highest damage ceiling. However, in team content such as Origin or Raids or FCE, you may not always be able to execute double bleed perfectly because of things like slow or Fantasia and things like that, which is where the second rotation comes in because it's more fluent and it just gets the job done in those situations. But without further ado, let's hop into double bleed first.
全力解决。胜负已决，全力解决。胜负已决。看好了。
That was double bleed, and now I'll go into the nitty-gritty on how it works. If you can tell what the video is doing already without my instructions, you can just skip past this part. Next rotation, but I would prefer if you stay here so that I could explain exactly like what's going on, because there are some small things going on that you may miss. Okay, so beginning of the rotation. Oops, I accidentally procced the passive. Okay, so the beginning of this rotation starts by going to Nanyan and casting her discharge and skill for the domain. I found that it is better than doing Nola skill first for this rotation specifically, and it should take the highest priority on the list of the 3 weapons. So you go Nanyan first, you use her skill, and then afterwards you go to Rosalind and you use her discharge, but you instantly cancel it and go to Nola right away. And what we're doing here is we're triggering the trait that gives you 24% crit damage, and also the matrices here that give you 36% attack. Well, it'll vary depending on what advancement you have, but you get the idea. Basically for buffs. So that's why you see me quickly swap from Nanyan to Rosalind and then to Nola. Once you're on Nola, you use her skill and auto attack the whole time until the sub where you use it to get the frost buff. And you gotta make sure that the sub skill fully comes out, or else you won't get the dodge. And how you know it'll fully come out, it'll have the final slash going from left to right, and after that slash is gone, the buff will show. If it's easier, you can also look at your buff bar to see this is a unique buff with a unique icon. So it's pretty noticeable. I'll show you one last time before we move on. But basically, auto attack get the 10 stack, right? Use the sub skill, and then slash, and then that's where the buff comes. And then after that, you would go to Rosalind and cancel her discharge, but make sure you get the buff to get it so you can apply stack rise bound. You cancel the discharge and then you skill right away. Then you do one auto chain, and when you come down, it'll freeze and you break the ice. Then you go to Nanyan, and then you go back to Rosalind, and you get your second bleed. And then, so that's similar to the previous rotation. Probably you'll do the second bleed, one full auto, and then afterwards you will do 3 dodges. And make sure the dodges fully come out. By that I mean the dodge hits 3 times, so make sure it hits 3 times before you do the next dodge, or else you'll stuff like those stacks. After that, you go back to Nanyan to refresh your discharge buff, and straight to Nola right after that, and press skill. I like to do the cancel thing similar to Yanuo, where in the old rotation you would go to Nola without using, or you would go to Yanuo without using your discharge. I do the same here because it is a time save. However, if you do hit the discharge, you just cancel the discharge. It's the same thing, it's no big deal. And then you use your skill, you do the same thing again, and then this is basically where the rotation repeats. The rotation is roughly 14 seconds. There's a bit of a different thing you do at the 2-minute mark because you need to refresh Nanyan zone. But that's basically the gist of how the rotation works. I'll go through it slowly one more time, and yeah, that'll be it for double bleed after that. The rotation doesn't change if you have different advancements. Like, this is just like their base kits basically is how this works, so you don't have to worry about that. The only like real thing you need is Rosalind 2-piece for the bleed, preferably. In solo content it's less crucial in team content, but you know, free damage is free damage, as a wise man once said. Anyways, let's get into the rotation. So you start on Nola, you go to Nanyan, you use her things, you go to Rosalind, you do auto, sub skills up, use the sub skill, slash, you do one on that chain, you'll get this, and then you go back, and you do one, back on Onion. One auto chain, break ice, probably see how it starts to change from there. The variance is coming up
胜负已决，
on 9 ends because you gotta now normally you would go back to but since 9 ends still is up, you gotta you go to 9 ends.
看好了，
Finish up the rotation. You cross it once again. So 9 ends, and then back across. Pretty consistent, not as bad as rotation to learn. Okay, so moving on to the next part, the second rotation. It's pretty much identical to the other like videos that you've probably seen on Frost, but I'll just give it a go so I can explain it in depth for the people who want this rotation as well. Alright, let's get into the next rotation.
"胜负已决，胜负已决，胜负已决。看好了，暗示。看好了，看好了。暗示。看好了，胜负已决。全力解决。暗示。暗示。暗示。全力解决。别挡路。看好了。
Okay, and that's it for the second rotation. As you can see, it is slightly more damage on paper. However, incorporating bleed from the other rotation will be higher, as bleed does not work on the cactus, unfortunately. I'll just quickly break down this rotation. Once again, it's just like the other one where matrices don't matter and advancements don't matter. The rotation stays the same as long as you have Nola 2, or not Nola, Rosalind 2-piece. And this rotation is very simple. It's basically a 30-second rotation, so I'll only explain 30 seconds. And you just it's split into two 15-second compartments, which you alternate to form a 30-second rotation. And how it works is you start on Nola, you use your skill, you do the same as the other one, you apply the buff, and then you go Nanyan, you do that, and then you go Rosin right away. And you use your skill and discharge this time to get damage. Since you have like the time anyways, you might as well use your discharge, and then you use skill, and then you do an auto chain, you break the icebound, and then you go Nanyan. So that's the first 15 seconds. The second 15 seconds would be after Nanyan, you go back to Rosin to use her discharge. So you use her discharge, and then you go to Nola and you use your skill. So why we're doing this is because we have time left on Nola's skill cooldown. So we might as well use the time to go and do some more damage on Rosin. And then after that, you go and reapply the buff on Nola, and then back to Nanyan, and then the rotation just repeats. So I'll do the first 30 seconds with me explaining, and then that'll be pretty much the end of this video. There's not much else left. If you have any questions, you can let me know in the comments. I answered every single comment, so I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Alright, let's do this 30 seconds.
看好了，胜负已决。开始击出目标。
Back to Rock.
看好了，别挡路。
One major tip, whenever you do Rosin discharge, you can cancel the animation as soon as damage starts coming up. So what I mean is, I'll try to zoom in for you, but there's basically a long wind up to her discharge, which doesn't do anything. You can cancel it right away and the damage will still also up. So I'll show you what it looks like when you do the discharge fully and when you cancel it. So this is fully. That's for a longer Spartan auto, right? If we go to this might help if you have numbers on, if you're practicing the time. So you can see that like when numbers come out is what you should do. So I like to just jump cancel it as soon as like damage starts coming up. And this is how it goes. This will take practice, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy. And yeah, that's about it for my tips and tricks. Good luck with your Frost journey, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.